Sauce.
Hey, you like Pez?
It looks like that. Here's Heaney from the boundary line. He's an expert at these. From the boundary line!
Hello and welcome to Behind the Boundary podcast. I'm your host Pez. I'm here with Sauce and we've got a ripping round 3 of AFL coming up.
G'day Pez, absolute ripping. What a round it was previously. Again, some upsets, some teams who were last year sitting at the bottom of the ladder, 2-0, some teams that won the premiership, 0-2, and first time in almost 20 years that's ever happened.
Yeah, so the Pussycats, the Carlton bandwagoners are out, up and about. They're
The
ready
baggers.
to go. With a draw and a win this season, we had lights out at the Gabba with Brisbane taking on Melbourne and Melbourne kicking 5 in a row after the lights went out.
Yeah, I know. I was really
Left in the dark.
left in the dark. I was a little bit worried, Pez. I thought it was 2 weeks in a row that the Power was going to get the Lions, and
We've heard this old chestnut before.
they're working on that all week.
But the power was out at the MCG as well because Collingwood won by 71 points after Port Adelaide's big round 1 win. And you speak about the Carlton bandwagoners. Geez, Collingwood are out in force. Best team ever, they reckon.
Best team ever. Wow. That's a really, really massive call. And I don't know if people are actually talking about that, Pez, but they have firmed as the premiership favourites, which is really exciting for Collingwood.
Oh, yeah, they'll tell you how much they're going to win the grand final by, probably 10 goals as well. There's a little bit of scare.
But I'm dead set about that. They're $5 favourites. They've actually firmed as the absolute favourites. Melbourne at $6.50, and being a betting podcast, Pez, it would be, terrible if we didn't speak about it. $5 for Collingwood.
Yeah, and I think Collingwood get a lot of the Collingwood money, realistically. So each week, even if Collingwood are like a bottom 4 side, which is pretty rare this day and age, but when they were in mid-2010s, their price was actually decent. They weren't really big underdogs any time because the Collingwood faithful, they pour their money in and they get their money on the pies. The Crows got to within 1 point of Richmond, and Richmond looked out for all odds and ended up winning by 32 points. So the Tigers get off the board, and the Dogs are deflated because they had a 51-point loss to St Kilda on the weekend as well.
Yeah, everyone's talking about the tall forward, the failure, but we really should be talking about the new coaches, Pez. Ross Lyon, your boy, second of the ladder, 2 really, really big wins, and Alistair Clarkson on the sideline, absolutely celebrating with the boys in a controversial win, as the AFL may came out to conclude.
Yeah, controversial win with all the rules. There's always a grey area in the AFL, as we know, but Clarko copped a bit of stick for high-fiving his players or showing a little bit of emotion. We are not robots in the AFL. We love to see the coaches get up and about and lay off Clarko. He's doing an amazing job. Obviously, a lot better than David Noble did because he would shun the players and they didn't want to play for him.
Exactly right. He's out there getting morale, and Pez. The AFL don't want him in the coach's box because he puts holes in the walls, punches holes in the walls. He can't be on the sideline celebrating. Exactly right. They need to just let the coaches coach and let them have a bit of enjoyment, and that's what footy's all about.
Let's have some characters, because you have them in the press conferences now. There was 5 years ago where the coaches just had to give nothing away and could have no personality. So let's get on with that. Hawthorn, they've gone to the deepest of bottom of the ocean because they struggled against Sydney, and it could have been a lot worse than 81 points.
And that's all we're going to talk about Hawthorn because that's already given them too much credit for their performance the last 2 weeks, and really disappointing leading into Alistair Clarkson's return to Hawthorn return to Tasmania for the showdown, the old Hawthorn of old clash, Sam Mitchell versus Alistair Clarkson.
Big clash coming up. I look forward to looking after that. The other winners for the weekend, Essendon over the Gold Coast, draw at 3/4 time and ran over the top of Gold Coast. They just gave up, and West Coast. A great win over the Giants over there, 19 points, and the West Coast faithful would be very happy about that.
They didn't turn out for it, but they the fans only seem to come out when Perth are winning, or when the West Coast Eagles are winning. They only get down to SBS when they are showcasing the skills, or it is an Olympic year.
There's a couple of other things, and the 19-year-old Jason Horne-Francis, he copped a bit of stick for not chasing on the weekend as well. And,
it wasn't that he didn't chase. It was that he stopped mid-run when he realised he'd been beaten. And you know what? Good on him. And I'm all for I'm all for the Collingwood's faithful booing him. I love it.
You're all on top of that.
Yeah, but he's a second-year player.
Bit contradictory.
Why?
Because they had a go at people booing Ginnivan the year before because he was a 19-year-old kid and mental health.
He was also doing some some extracurricular activities for his mental health. Oh Jesus! I bet you he didn't stop running that night that he was caught doing some extra stuff.
He was having a good night that night, and he'll come back through the VFL. But that's another story. But
that is another story. But
we know Collingwood are going to boo.
Yeah, of course. I got no problems. And maybe they were just upset about the prison bars. Maybe they're still stuck on that. So
I saw they had two cheer squads either end. Port Adelaide didn't make the trip over.
Yeah, I know, it was a bit interesting. I mean, Collingwood did wear their home strip, which is a bit different from their away strip, the reverse prison bars.
I can never tell. But round two's over. We will get rid of round two at the moment after speaking about our bets on the weekend.
Well, we didn't talk about the real winners. Pez. It was us. The ladder challenge. Up and about. Oh, Jesus. Absolutely shocked him. Can't believe that the bet wins. You can't believe it, Pez. But I'll give you some time to recover as we get into the bet review.
Soft review. It's no official review. How does it end? We don't know. They've kind of lost, but they've won as well.
I was not expecting that.
And we're back, Pez. We're back.
Yes, the ladder challenge, our first week out on TikTok and Twitter. We're up and about because we turned $10 into $20.70. Nice and easy win on the weekend, Sauce, and we're going to continue to do it and continue that climb to $10,000.
No upsets in round two. We're on to the second run or the second leg or the second step of the ladder. I don't know what we're running with there, Pez, but either way, we're going to be running with winners. We'll get into that a little bit later. Let's review the round that was.
Yeah, we'll go through, and I started with a bet in Carlton and Geelong, and TikTok's getting a bit of a run on behind the boundary as well. And if you put a bet up and you lose, geez, do you cop it after the game?
After the game.
Zero comments, of that before the game actually happens or during the game. It's always after, because we are a results-orientated business, Sauce, and we're not going to hide away from the fact you can't win 100% of your bets, but we have lost some. And I had Geelong 1-39 and Geelong ML. Carlton outplayed Geelong in the first three quarters. I think Cam Guthrie had the worst three-quarter performance of any footballer in the history of the game. If you don't believe me, have a look back. And then Zach Tui, his four-quarter performance was super, super poor, costing goals. Charlie Curnow was up and about. Patrick Cripps, as always. And the mighty Carlton Blues make Geelong go 0-2. And I lost a unit on that and got a bonus bet for it.
Yeah, Pez. I had a Geelong money line and the under 172.5, and it was 172. So I had that part right. But Geelong, we thought that they would bounce back after the round one, shocking to the premiership favourites, Collingwood.
Didn't do it.
They weren't to be, and I think that premiership's taken a lot more out of Geelong, and when a lot more effort went into last year than it and that we're probably taking into account. So, as you said, a results based business, but we don't shy away from the losses, so we'll talk about them. We won't make excuses.
No, because
we'll
next
take
game,
that loss.
Brisbane-Melbourne, Sauce. You made a bold prediction last week
where
no one was, because all the money was with Melbourne. And you've gone with Brisbane Lions.
Yeah, you were sitting there laughing, and you were saying that everyone's going to get on top of me because I backed Brisbane and I stuck to my metrics. I had Brisbane. I put 2 units down. 2 units.
It was a big one,
a huge one. Brisbane money line and the under 198.5 Pez. The alternate line for that one, $2.15, and that was a nice little profit of 2.3 units for me.
Yeah, excellent Friday night of footy for you.
I was a little bit nervous when those lights went out in that fourth quarter. I'm like, hurry up.
Got to 11 points a minute.
Either go out again or keep kicking away. I was stressing.
Just end the game and go from there. Adelaide versus Richmond. I really liked Richmond here. Richmond to lead at 3/4 time and -8.5. Got a bit nervous when it was a 1-point game and Adelaide were monstering back and kicking goal after goal. But Richmond, they found something and ended up winning by 32 points. So had a nice little win there at $2 odds.
Yeah, I had a loss in this one, but was looking good up until about that half-time mark because Adelaide just couldn't put anything on the scoreline. I had Richmond money line, which got up at the under 173.5. Not unlucky, but misread that one. It was 184, so even with that late surge was what caused the upset. But, I got a bonus bet for that one coming into this round.
Yeah, the Crows, they piled on 5 goals, 8 in that third quarter. It was
annoying.
It was a very, very big quarter after a slow start, as you said. The next game that we did have a bet on looks like it was Sydney and Hawthorn, and I said, Sauce, Sydney -39.5 was really, really good, and the sports bet specials killed me.
Yep.
It's absolutely killed me this week because I needed to make it $2 to be eligible for the special. And I thought, who better than Chad Warner to put up for 20-plus disposals, sitting there at quarter time, 7 disposals. I'm watching, I'm seeing if McGuinness...
he was around it heaps.
Is McGuinness going to go to him? And then from quarter time, it wasn't McGuinness, but it was all these different players. Nash was at him a little bit, and there was just player after player, and they would not leave Chad Warner alone, but they left every other Sydney player alone and to go from there. So he didn't end up with the 20 disposal, only ended up with 15, which was disappointing. So I got a bonus bet out of that game, but my minus 39.5, because of that special, I didn't take full advantage of it.
No, you didn't. I had a Sydney money line and Mr. Goulding for 25 plus. Was looking pretty good early. That third quarter, he got a little bit quiet, and then the fourth quarter, absolutely punished home with that. He about 2 minutes to go, he was sitting on 24s, a little bit nervous in the car, watching on the phone, delaying actually going to where I was meant to be because the footy takes precedence. And boom, looked at my phone a little bit later, 28. So I love that collect with a bonus bet, Pez. So 1.2 units for that one.
220 as well. So the unit you lost last week, you actually got 1.2 units back for it. So
the unit I lost last week, I doubled up in the Brisbane game, so I got that back in spades.
No, it's all good. I did forget I put down a bonus bet from the Geelong game, actually, Sauce, in the Richmond game. So I had Richmond to win. I had over 154.5. I had Hopper for 15 disposals and Taranto for 20 disposals. All shitted it in, and and won that. I was paying $2, and I got my unit back from the Thursday night footy.
Yeah, love that one. We'll continue on with the Gold Coast Essendon game next in the schedule, Pairs. You put in a live bet, so
I did.
You tried to take advantage of the specials, and you probably should have stuck to your advice that you gave out on Wednesday night.
Yeah, so I was looking at Wednesday night, the bottom 6 players, and who are Gold Coast top 10, things like that. And then I was looking at Essendon's list on Sunday, sitting there and going, geez, this Essendon team, they're not too good. They're not performing. It's going to be under 190, and Gold Coast are going to have a real red hot crack at this. So I'll go the plus 10 because of the sports bet special. Got me over the line to take that. And I should have gone a first quarter line or a halftime line or something in hindsight, but didn't do that. Gold Coast were nowhere near it, and the points were exactly 190 because Essendon went away with it after 72 all at three-quarter time. They went away to win by 28 points. So I lost the unit there, and I'll have that bonus bet to use this week.
You were looking good. And speaking of bonus bet, I put my last bonus bet from round 1 on the West Coast and GWS game. I was pretty confident with West Coast winning, and they actually did that, but I gave them a little bit of insurance with 20.5. But the under's what killed me. Under 165. And again, Pez, that third quarter, they just absolutely opened it up and got out to about 180, 181. But I should have stuck with West Coast just on the $2 line itself. I shouldn't have put the second leg in there. Got a little greedy, but hey, we'll learn.
Yeah, but see, with this sports bet special, that's how it can get you sometimes because you have to get 2 legs. So you have to go somewhere, and if you go under by a little bit or you go over, sometimes it does. But
mine was legit greed because that was my bonus bet. So that was
that was your bonus bet.
It was just greed.
We go from there. So for round 2, I ended up staking 4 units. Ended up losing a unit, Sauce, so minus 25 on the ROI. So for the season, in the first couple of rounds, I staked 9 units and I've lost 2.09 units. So I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball at the moment for minus 23% in the ROI. You might be looking a little bit better at the moment. I
am for round 2, Pairs. I had 3 units staked, and because of my bonus bets getting up a couple of them, I had a profit loss of 2.5 units and a return on investment 83.3. So loving that. And overall for the year, I've staked 8 units, and I'm sitting at just under half a unit that I'm down. So I will get back up this round with my bonus bets as well as my couple of 2-unit plays. So very excited to be up in the green sitting in to round 4. Yeah, nearly even money there, and with a bonus bet to play, and I've got 2 bonus bets to play this week. So hopefully that can help us climb.
The fact that the size of the bets was relatively small.
Now bets with an opportunity about 50 metres out.
I was with a mate, and we were getting sort of ready to leave, and he said, I think I'm going to whack 10 on Maxi. Do you want some as well? And I said,
Oh, yes! Yes!
Oh, I was pointing at you so we could actually talk, Pez. We can get on to the specials. I know that you're excited. I thought you were going to press the specials button. I was going to push the specials button. Didn't know, maybe you weren't ready for the lights of TikTok. You can find all the specials on TikTok. Waiting for the audio cue. Here we go.
Cyril takes a special and goes bang.
Yeah, so if you want a detailed update on the specials, at Behind the Bound on TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, and all that. So we've got the sports bet special only on Thursday and Friday night this week, Sauce. So take advantage while you can. You do have to get to that $2 mark, though.
You do, Pez. We've also got Bluebet with their special. They have same from last week. 12 up at halftime. Your team leading, and you win your bet up to $100, and not bonus bet. It just pays out up to $100.
Yep. So if you're going to lose, you've already been paid out, which is awesome. And because Saturday, Sunday sports bet, they've dogged us this week. We've got to go to Ladbrokes, and you can get one refund per day. So it's not per game. You just have to choose one game that you want to put a 3-leg same game multi on. If you lose one leg, you can get a bonus bet back up to $50 with Lads, one per day. Make sure you're aware of that.
Make sure you jump on that one. All right, let's get into round 3, Pez. We start off Thursday night footy. The Western Bulldogs taking on Brisbane. The Doggies, 245 outsiders. Brisbane Lions, 153. The favourites, -11.5 is the line. And the over-under, 173.5. Pez, Brisbane, absolute bounce back against Melbourne. Can they make it back-to-back wins against the struggling Western Bulldogs?
Yeah, well, they're coming back down to Marvel. So travelling again. They struggled over at Adelaide Oval in round 1, but the Dogs have struggled all season. They've got a percentage of 51 here, Sauce. And with the Lions, they impressed me last week with their clearance work against Melbourne, and Melbourne have a really good midfield. But the Lions have lost the clearances to the Dogs in the last 3 meetings that they've had. And they've not played at Marvel versus the Dogs since 2018. They've played at Mars Stadium or at the Gabba. So it'll be really interesting to see this week under the roof. But the focus will be all around the defensive structures and the two-way running for the Brisbane Lions, because they need to get their season on track. Going 2-1 is a lot better than going 1-2. And there's so much heat on the Dogs, their coach, their players this week. I can't see them turning it around so quickly with a quality lineup like Brisbane. So I am going to lock something in here, and I'm going to take advantage of the blue bet their Sauce. And Brisbane Lions, their head-to-head are paying $1.57, which is better odds that you can get there than anywhere else at the moment. And I'm just going with that, and I'm going to place just over 2 units on that to return 1 unit because it's $1.57, and I can get paid up to that $100 back in the bonus. So I'm hoping to have this one done at halftime if the Lions lead by 2 goals. But if not, just need them to win the game. No funny business with lines or anything like that.
No funny business at all. But there has been a lot of funny business with the Bulldogs. They've been very ordinary the last 2 weeks specifically. But if you look at their season the last couple of years, it's very interesting that the Dogs had locked up Beveridge coming into this season 5 years. They'll be regretting that decision when they go 0-3, because I think Brisbane take this one out. I really like Brisbane in this one. They've won the past 7 out of their 8 games actually at Marvel, and in those 3 of them were against the Doggies. They've won of those games. They've all been low scoring too. So 7 of the last 8 games have all been under 173.5 Pez. So I think this game is going to be a low-scoring affair, and I am all over Brisbane. I've gone 2 units, 2-leg same-game multi with Sportsbet. Brisbane, just the money line, and the alternate line under 198.5 Pez. I think the Lions get this done. They bounce back after the last 2 weeks of power surges, and I start off the round with a nice little win.
Yeah, so you like that 198 number. I'm pretty sure that was your same number last week in the Brisbane-Melbourne game. So under 198 would be
well, that's
be
the
nice.
highest you can go, Pez, with the alternate line. I'd love them to remove the suspended for the over the 200s, because Brisbane is quite a high scoring team, but when they travel down to Melbourne, they've only gone over once in the last 7 attempts at it. So I'm hoping that this makes it number 8 for them.
Oh, well, you take it there, and then we head to Friday night at the MCG.
This should be an absolute blockbuster, Pez. As we just spoke about, the premiership favourites after round 2, and they have to be not only the loudest round 3 premiership favourites, but they are absolutely all over them. The lead is off at Collingwood. They come in as favourites of $1.41. Richmond outsiders $2.86, with a couple of injuries, and Hopper as well as Dusty Martin have been confirmed that they're not going to be playing.
Jaden Short
as well.
Broad's out with suspension.
So it's going to be tough for Richmond. The line is -16.5, and this has crept out. You could have got this -10.5 at the start of the week. It's already at 16.5, and once the team is confirmed, that will continue to slide out. The over/under is under 179.5. Pez, I know you're about to talk about Richmond's depleted injuries there. What happens in this game?
Yeah, well, I had a sneaky look on Sunday, so it was actually -8.5. there for Collingwood. And if you knew what was going to happen with Richmond, you might have jumped all over that because they are absolutely decimated. Injury, suspension, resting, because Dusty's listed as a just a rest this week. So it's quite weird. But the hype, as you mentioned, around Collingwood, I have never, in recent times, I don't remember a side that has had this much hype to actually make the finals, get into a grand final, win the grand final. And their fans on Twitter are some of the most one-eyed fans you could ever have. I can't explain it, but
they're already talking about going back to back.
It is very entertaining. They're going to be the three-peat of the 2020s. So that'll be in 2025.
The modern Geelong, Richmond and Hawthorn, they're going to be better than all those. So
better than everyone. And Brisbane eat your heart out early 2000s as well, because Collingwood are coming. They've got the Dacos brothers, who are really exciting to watch. Bobby Hill's slotted in there nicely. I think Collingwood will take this out against Richmond because of their depletion. But we do remember last year where Richmond got a hold of Collingwood at the MCG when it wasn't expected either. So I'm leaning towards an under in the points, because the points is really, really high. So it's 179.5 when I looked at it before Sauce, and I had to get it to $2 for Sportsbet. So pick your own total, took it down 5 points to go under 174.5. It bumped it up from 205 to 210, which was really, really strange. But $2.10, that's my lean at the moment. I'm going to keep an eye on that, get the finalised teams tomorrow, and I'll put it out on Twitter at Behind the Bound if I decide to run with it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, this one, Pez. I think this is possibly one of those games that Collingwood are so confident. Their fans are talking. They're premiership favourites. You know, the Dacos brothers, one of them's going to win the Brownlow in his second year and beat Nathan Buckley in his third at Brisbane. You know, they're talking all this hype. And I think Richmond, you know, whilst they have got a few numbers out, they actually have been pretty decent the first 2 weeks. You know, you look at Carlton the first week, that's an anomaly, that game, that no one was good, but they didn't lose that game. Then they go over to Adelaide, and for 3 quarters, they controlled the game. There's a lot of injuries out, but I don't think that the system is going to fail Richmond. They are a fast-scoring team, Collingwood, so I expect the game to actually be a little bit more high-scoring than you're going to, for your lean there, Pez. My numbers have it as 179, and that is right on. So what I've done is I've gone a 3-leg same-game multi with Sportsbet. I've gone Richmond plus 39.5. I think that, you know, another good bet is probably Collingwood that 1 to 39, but I don't think that Richmond get blown out in this one. I think they just system keeps them there, keeps them safe. I've gone the over 156.5, Pez, because the numbers are bang on. I think both these teams are pretty high scoring. You know, Collingwood do get away from teams. They do push out that lead. And then I've gone Daniel Rioli plus 20. He sits at $1.40 at the moment, which I think is great value. The first week he had 23, second week he had 27. Potentially no Hopper, no Martin. He's going to have more rotations through that midfield.
No Short. He'll be,
I think he's going to get a whole lot of the pill, and I think that $1.40, that is great to chuck into any of your multi. So I've gone 1 unit on that, Pez, with Sportsbet, $2.05.
Yeah, so kind of your little free hit as well, but you are going with your numbers there, and hopefully you win that one.
Hopefully I win that one, and this will be Hawthorn's thoughts exactly. Hopefully they win this one in Alistair Clarkson's return to Tassie and the Tassie Derby, Pez. And we might not be saying this for long with the inclusion of the 19th licence not too far away by all rumours. Hawthorn taking on North Melbourne, of course, down in Tassie. $2.60 outsiders are the Hawks. $1.50 is North Melbourne. Minus 11.5 is the line. Over under 171.5, Pez. North Melbourne, 3 in a row, surely. Kanga.
Well, that's what you're thinking, because you look at Hawthorn and the way they play, and they've got no forward line. They've got no structure up there to be able to, you know, score heavily. And they doubled their score late in that Sydney game as well to make it look a lot better than what it actually was. The biggest draw card here is Clarko versus Mitchell. The coach versus, you know, his player, his captain from 10 years ago. But I think Clarko has motivated these players to the next level. I think Luke Davis-Uniacke is...
hasn't he not gone to a new level?
A top 10 player. We spoke about him late last year, Sauce, in that second half, and he has just improved over the preseason again. I think they have belief. They actually want to play for the coach, and they actually want to... It sounds weird saying that they want to play for the coach because they're getting paid to play footy, but it's actually really true.
They're enjoying footy again. They've gone back to that pure moment of when you're a child and actually having a kick with the old man or having a kick with, you know, your teammates. They love it. So you can see that enjoyment on the field. You can see that glee in the coaches. And if you want a good look, and go deep into their Instagram and their TikToks, what he's doing in building a culture there, Alistair Clarkson, is pretty remarkable.
And it started... it started with a late late call from Clarko with the stuff that happened in the off season. But $1.49, I thought, I love this price for North Melbourne. But then I thought,
It's North
this
Melbourne.
is North Melbourne, and they're two low sides. You know, North Melbourne aren't going to make the finals or anything this year. And I thought, I can't put my money there, so I'm just going to leave this one alone. I think North Melbourne will win, but, you know, Hawthorn have surprised me before it in Tasmania.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to whether Hawthorn want to win this game or not. The last 2 weeks, they haven't looked like they wanted to win. They've lost the game not only at selection, but what they've done with their list in the lead-up. I think Sam Mitchell's going to want to really showcase the talent here. I think they're going to be trying to out-coach each other. I like the Kangas. I agree with you. I think it's pretty good odds for a team that's sitting 2-0 and a team that in Hawthorn that is not very good, and they have not looked anywhere near an AFL standard basically the last 2 weeks. I like the line in this one. I would lean towards the line. As you said last week, you're not going to get a low line against Hawthorn very often. The minus 11.5 is pretty good. The Hawks haven't covered that in 7 of their last 8 pairs, and I think that'll make it 8 of the last 9 with probably a pretty convincing win for the Kangas, but just a lean for me at the moment.
Yeah, well, you pop it out on Twitter if you need to, Sauce, at Behind the Bound, and we can add it to the spreadsheet. That's where we head to GWS.
We do head to GWS. There'll be 7 people for this game. Oh, there'll probably be 50 people there because Carlton will come over in numbers now that they're up and about.
There'll be a couple of planes going up.
Exactly right. The blue bag as the lid is off at Carlton. GWS come in outsiders at 248, of course. Carlton favourites $1.54. Minus 10.5 is the line. The over-under, 170.5 pairs. The Blue Baggers, they are up and about. A huge win over Geelong and a draw against Richmond. It's kind of funny them saying that the lid's off and they had a draw the first round in a game that they should have won.
Yeah, but it is Carlton fans, and they get up and about. They get really confident, and they're actually quite nervous. A few Carlton fans that I know going up to Giant Stadium, but I don't see it. They beat them by 5 goals there last year, and then they beat them by 6 goals here in Melbourne. So I think with Curnow and Mackay up forward, Cripps running through that midfield, Doherty's beautiful kicking from defence, Jacob Wiedering, leading that defence as well. I think Carlton are a lot stronger. Missing the finals last year, they need to be able to take care of these games and win these games because they lost a few that they shouldn't have last year, and it really cost them at the end. Michael Voss is another one like Clarko. Gets up and about, especially after the game on the ground after a good win, like he showed last Thursday night. But they'll be primed for this. They'll travel up together. They'll take care of business here against GWS. So I've locked this in here. I've gone Carlton minus 10.5, and I've gone a 3-leg same-game multi with lads. I've gone over 125.5 because GWS only need to score 6 or 7 goals, and that'll be over there because Carlton will absolutely smash them here. And Carlton plus 37.5 just to get the third leg in there. And if it doesn't happen and Carlton don't cover the line, I'll most likely get in a bonus bet back anyway.
Yeah, cool. I like that you're thinking this one. I agree. This is one of those ones that Carlton just need to win. They're playing a poor side. They're playing, a side that's coming back from injury. They've been disappointing GWS. They've already got that sort of, the win early on. I think they just need to go over there, take care of business, get home. I've gone with something a little bit interesting actually for the podcast. I've just locked in the money here, Pez. Money line, blue bet, $1.57. Just put 1 unit on, Pez. I'm just going to collect some money from this one. GWS have lost their past 10 games against top 8 sides, which is a pretty accurate stat early on in the season because Carlton were potentially a top 8 side last year. They're a top 8 side this year, and I think that's roughly where they're at. Carlton get the job done in this one. $1.57 with blue bet, of course, 12 points up. Mine pays out. So if that pays out at halftime, your bet's looking pretty good as well, Pez, and we're both sitting in the green.
We'll be in the green by Saturday night. And speaking of Saturday night, St Kilda versus Essendon. St Kilda's 150-year celebration. Home game to St Kilda at the MCG.
I thought there was a bit more pep in your step there, Pez. I couldn't work out what was happening. It was just a throwaway Carlton bet. But now I realise now that we're, of course, taking the next game into account. The huge top-of-the-table clash, Pez. Well, second versus third.
Yeah.
But both teams unbeaten. St Kilda versus Essendon. Battle of the new coaches. One of the new coaches will walk away with a loss. $1.70 favourites are your Saints. For the first time this year, favourites coming into this game. Essendon, $2.15. The first time they've been outsiders this year, which is really interesting. Minus 3.5 is the line. The over-under total points pairs. Really, really, really boring or really, really, really low scoring. Pez, talk us through how the Saints make it 3-0.
Yeah, the thing I can't get my head around here, Sauce, is It is at the MCG, obviously, because it's a 150-year celebration. But St Kilda don't play there often.
First time in the last 3 years you've played there as the home team.
Yeah, and they don't play home games there because they only played there when they were up the top of the ladder, 2008, 2009, 2010. So they haven't done that in a very long time. We're playing against Essendon, who don't have the best list and won't make the finals this year and all of that. But Saturday night, MCG, St Kilda already decimated with injuries. You speak about Richmond before, but St Kilda, they've managed to win the first 2 games with players playing their role and playing team defense and rolling defense, taking the game on. But Jack Steele, he's just a massive, massive loss. And I didn't mind the Saints price at around $1.68, $1.70. But then when Steele went out, I just can't seem to get into this game. I just want to enjoy this game on the Saturday night. I don't know if St Kilda can bring that style of gameplay at a bigger ground at the MCG rather than under the roof at Marvel. So I want to see what Ross can do here at the MCG. I want to see if Essendon, try and take the game on and do that. I think St Kilda should win, but I wouldn't be surprised if Essendon get the chocolates here. So I'm leaving this one alone.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those games where anything can happen. You speak so much of the man of steel, Jack with his injury, and it's really disappointing. But I believe St Kilda, one of the things that Ross really prides himself on is just next man up. He plays a system that works, and it doesn't really matter about the absolute superstars. You look back in those Fremantle days, they had a couple of superstars, that really showcased probably past his sort of realm there. And you look at the same with the Saints when they were up at the top of the ladder. They're a system-based side. Their system makes those players look good. The next cattle up will make the Saints look really good here. Essendon, yes, they've been impressive, but they've had 2 absolute throwaway wins, and they're wins that you really can't talk about. The fact that they struggled in that third quarter against Gold Coast was really concerning. And they broke away in that fourth, and they took care of business. But I would be leaning towards the Saint with what they've done in the lead up to this in Ross's system, but then you take them to the G, and I would probably take Essendon over St Kilda at the G. I probably would have a lean in this game, the $2.30 for St Kilda 1-39, but you can take either team 1-39, and I think he gets a little bit of good value. I think Essendon's sitting 260. The game is not going to be a blowout. It'll be 1-39. You just got to pick which horse you're picking.
Oh, so not 40 plus there from Sauce. So if you like one of them, jump on the bandwagon with Sauce. But it'll be a huge night, Saturday night.
It will be a huge night. That's the one in Melbourne. But we talk of a huge night also in Adelaide. We have the Derby, or the Showdown, whatever they want to call it. Port Adelaide wearing their prison bars. So the Collingwood fans will be confused when they turn on their TV, seeing the black and white stripes taking on the Adelaide Crows. $1.43 favourites are the power. 286 outsiders the Crows. -15.5 is the line. Over under 170.5. Pez, we love a showdown. Well, we don't love the showdown, but it is good spectacle. Last couple of ones are always close. We're going to have a big game on.
It is. Adelaide built their captain off the showdown last year with Jordan Dawson getting the captaincy.
Still talking about that.
If Jordan Dawson wins this game off his own boot again, he will own the Adelaide Crows.
A Hall of Famer.
For eternity. So we go from there. But Port Adelaide were really impressive against Brisbane in round 1. And then they go to the MCG, get absolutely poleaxed.
Were they really impressive? Was Brisbane just extremely poor?
Well, to win by 50-something points against Brisbane, who we both thought were a top 4 side, you think they had to have something there.
I'm still not sold on that. I think that Port Adelaide are exactly where we had them in our pre-season rankings, and they got smacked by the premiership favourites in Collingwood, and I think they just came to the event against Brisbane. I think they just turned it on.
I think after watching the first 2 rounds of Port Adelaide, I think they're going to be a really hit and miss side. So if they're on, and on their day against a poor side, they're going to be able to, get an 8-goal win over at Adelaide Oval. But I think they'll be really poor interstate this year. I think Adelaide actually have a decent chance because they've shown in glimpses in both games against Richmond and in GWS that they can score quickly and they can score heavily. Darcy Fogarty up there with his accurate goal kicking. We love that. Jordan Dawson, the captain in defence. If I was going anywhere in this game, I'd probably lean towards an Adelaide to win or give them a little bit at the line halftime. So to be in the lead at halftime. And then other than that, I'm definitely leaving this one alone. But if I had to lean somewhere, I'd go halftime Adelaide ML.
Yeah, I really don't know this one. It's the showdown. I'd probably be leaning towards the Adelaide line. I think 16.5 is a pretty decent sort of line for the game. Totally agree. Port Adelaide will probably look to get Boak back, which will add a little bit more depth in that midfield, a little bit more of a veteran leader. But as you said, Adelaide have looked good. You know, they're a team that they're probably year 3 of the rebuild. So they said that they're aiming for finals. They've been in both games. They probably should be, split the difference. Against GWS, they probably should have taken care of business. That was a young, inexperienced team. Richmond, they showcased late. I reckon that they'll stick with the power, but I'm not sure who's going to win. It's a bit of a coin flip, so I'm going to lean towards the 15.5 with the Adelaide line for $1.90.
Yeah, and then we head into Sunday, but we have to wait till 2:10. Sauce 1:10 usually on a Sunday. I can sit down 1:10, start watching the footy, but
it's because there's no daylight savings in Queensland, so that's why.
Well, there you go. I've got to wait the extra hour. Or do I have to wait the extra hour? Daylight savings here?
We still have to wait here. Is it daylight savings this weekend?
Who knows?
Who knows? Anyway, we are talking a lot about the sun going up and down, but hopefully the Suns are going down in this one. How's that segue? Look at that.
They definitely need
Gold
to.
Coast Suns taking on Geelong Cats. 3.11 outsiders are the Gold Coast Suns. Geelong $1.37, the shortest that they've of the round, actually, isn't it? $1.37, the shortest of the round, which is
favourite.
A very nervous Geelong supporter sitting right here about this game. -16.5 is the line. The over-under 170.5. Pez, I'm pretty nervous about this one. I know the Cats need to bounce back, but I'm just not convinced. I think, as I've said a couple of times, that the premiership hangover, I think, in this one is actually real because they put so much effort into last year's season, into that premiership, and it was a sigh of relief. And the Suns, they're going to be hungry. 0-2. They got thumped the first week. They probably should have been a little bit closer last week, but their list isn't that good.
The Suns might be hungry, but they can only play a half a footy. They can't sustain it for 4 quarters, and Geelong will be desperate. Jeremy Cameron, he loves his footy, and I think he's the most exciting player in the AFL. Even in that loss, he kicked 6 goals, and he's kicking them from everywhere. He was a bit sore last week, so I am hoping he does get up in this one. And Geelong's midfield will need to be a lot better against this Gold Coast midfield, but Gold Coast don't have enough players to run through there, and Geelong just need to get head down, go to business, go and get this win, start 1-2, because they can't start 0-3. And because of that, I'm going with Ladbrokes. I've gone a 3-leg same-game multi here, Sauce. Geelong to win, alternate total under 200.5 points, because I don't see Gold Coast kicking more than, say, 80 points, and then Geelong aren't going to make up the difference there. So it might be something like Geelong 90, Gold Coast 60. So I'm expecting 150, 160 points. So I've gone under 200. And Jeremy Cameron, hopefully does play to kick 2+ goals. It's at $1.30 by itself. 2.19 that gives me with lads.
I love that, Pez. Love it. And I totally agree with what you're saying there. Hopefully Jeremy Cameron does get up. And if he does, Pez, you're going to love the stats I'm about to pull out for you because he loves playing against the Suns. He averages just under 4 goals against the Suns. In all the teams that he's played the Suns 16 times. Ooh. And he has had 63 goals and 31 behind. So 94 scoring shots. The next closest against any other team is Collingwood. And just a lazy 59. So he absolutely piles it on against the Gold Coast. And I think on
was that
Sunday,
when he won the Coleman?
Yeah, he got 60 of those goals in that one day. But even still, that's still 30 more than the next opponent. And Collingwood obviously being a decent sort of side. Gold Coast not being that good. I think that he's going to have an absolute field day here. He's absolute in ripping form.
Here we go. What do we got?
I've put my bonus bet down in this one, Pez. As I said, he averages just under 4 goals a game, 3.8 something, and averages about 7 scoring shots on the Gold Coast Suns. I've gone just 4+ goals with Sportsbet with my bonus bet.
You say 5.
$3.15. If you go for 3 goals, Pairs, it sits at $1.80. You go for that 4 goals and boom, bumps up to $3.15. So the value is there with 4 goals. I think he's in ripping form. He's one of the best players in the competition to watch. So jump on that if you've got a bonus bet sitting there and you want to make a bit of extra money. But
a goal a quarter.
This one literally pairs a little bit of fun, and I've checked my stats and it sort of backs it. So I've gone with $3.15.
Hope the Tomahawk gives a few over the top or with that unselfish play.
It's the league in goals assist Pez for the last couple of years, and hopefully he does that to his mate. They share neighbours within the farms. Just boom, one over the little paddock.
Share cows.
Share cows.
Share pigs. Share premiership medals.
They do.
Because Jeremy Cameron lost his.
Sorry, just a weird thing to say. Oh, they share cows.
That's what I could think. That's what I remember. You know that video where he puts it on the cow? Yes.
Yes, when he's like absolutely celebrated hard at 5 a.m. in the morning and lost his medal to a bull.
I'm sure they'd share a steak and a red wine.
I mean, that bull wouldn't have looked too good the next morning. I can imagine with a hangover meal. Anyway, let's get on to surely one of the games of the round outside of the Richmond-Collingwood game. Melbourne taking on Sydney. $1.77 favourites are the Ds. Sydney outsiders $2.10. -4.5 is the line. Over under 169. Pez, Melbourne need to bounce back after that disappointing performance against Brisbane, because they came away with a 10-15 point loss, but it was a pretty disappointing performance for them up until the lights went out.
Yeah, they got smashed in the middle, absolutely smashed, and it didn't help that Max Gawn went down early, went down to the rooms, suspected ACL, or he thought it was, and it's not that bad, which is good news for Melbourne. But their trade for Brodie Grundy might be pretty important here, because Brodie Grundy, he's not the player he once was when he got that $7 million deal at Collingwood, but he needs to find some of that form, because he needs to lead that midfield there. Lead Oliver in the middle, Petrarca, and get the ball moving forward and get back to Melbourne winning and kicking easy goals and transitioning the footy really well by foot. Sydney are a team, always, under John Longmire. They defend really well. They're a team-orientated defence. Buddy will come back in, so I don't know if that's a positive or a negative for the Swans, because they had a couple of young forwards. Armity last week, he looked pretty good overhead.
He could have had about 6 or 7 goals. He
got subbed out as well,
yeah.
But very good. Logan McDonald down there as well. So Sydney, decent. Melbourne, I think they might bounce back here at this one, just because it is at home at the MCG. I do need some more info on this one, Sauce, being a Sunday game. I just would love to see the teams and see how Melbourne are going to restructure with only the one ruckman. What are they going to do with their second ruckman? And really go from there. So I'll wait and see on this one. Interested to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm all over Sydney in this one. I think Sydney have been extremely impressive. I know they've had a bit of a soft schedule, but they look very, very impressive. You look at Hawthorn the week before against Essendon, and again, we don't rate Essendon that highly, but Sydney absolutely made mincemeat of Hawthorn. They looked unbelievable. Their pressure around the footy for a side who was playing the bottom of the ladder was ferocious, and I think they bring that same intensity against Melbourne, and I really, really like Melbourne injury list in this one. I think Gawn being out, I think that you've also got Keziah Pickett, they'll miss him. You've got the potential of Stephen May coming back, so that's it's good for you to be able to wait then. But I also don't mind the inclusion of Buddy Franklin, because at worst May's going to go to Buddy Franklin, so that you take away him, and whether he makes an impact or not, it's 50-50. The last couple of games Sydney's already had those impacts on the scoreboard, so I've gone Swans in the head-to-head. I've gone with Neds for their same game multi. They've got like a little bonus fill-up thing, so if one leg fails, money back. And I've gone, money back in a bonus. I've gone 1 unit on the Swans to get the job. 3 of the last 4 games against the Ds, they've won. 5 out of 9 at the MCG of the last 3 years. They love playing Melbourne at the G and knocking them off. So I think that the numbers work there. The Swans to win. Errol Goulding last week, I had him for 25. Pairs. He sits $1.40 at the moment for 20 disposals. Don't understand the metrics of that one. I jumped on that one. And I've gone with Ollie Florent. 15 disposals for him. He sits about $1.33 as well. The first week he had 18, and this week he had 25. He seemed to be getting the pill absolutely everywhere.
Using the footy.
And if Melbourne look to do that rotating tag against Chad Warner, because we had some success last week with Hawthorn, Florent will be the recipient winner of that. So I've got 1 unit, $25 pairs, $3.69 are the odds. And I love the value in that one.
Jeez, here we go. Over the Swans, it'd be a huge win for the Swans to announce themselves back after, losing a grand final. Teams usually struggle at the start of the year, but the Swans, maybe not. We'll wait and see.
They look hungry, Pez. You have to admit they looked absolutely hungry against the Hawks. And
they
could have gone into, maybe stuck in second gear the whole game and still won by 50, but they looked dangerous.
Essendon against Hawthorn looked like they'd won 10 premierships in a row.
They still look shit in the first quarter, Pez. They looked horrible.
You have to think about that.
Dropping grenades like that. That's horrible, Pez. All right, let's get into the last game of the round. And I don't mind the Fremantle and West Coast both playing that derby game. Fremantle taking on West Coast at SBS Stadium, of course. $1.49 favourites are the Dockers, $2.65 outsiders the West Coast Eagles. -13.5 is the line, over under 158.5 pairs. The start of the season, we would not have thought that it would have been one of these teams had a win and one of these teams had been unbeaten, and both teams have actually lost to North Melbourne, the wooden spoon recipients from last year. So this will be a really interesting game. Expect a full house there.
For Fremantle's home game here. Funny that you say they've both lost to North Melbourne. If you looked at this game prior to round 1, Sauce, Fremantle would not be anywhere near this price. They would be sitting around $1.15 to beat West Coast.
Fremantle sitting at the start of the season, so the teams to go unbeaten, they were sitting favourites at $6 for the last team to be unbeaten. So it's incredible their first couple of weeks.
Look, we thought they would have to bounce back after what St Kilda did to them in round 1, and they weren't able to do it. North Melbourne came over there. West Coast coming off a win. I think the pressure's off West Coast a little bit. So I think Fremantle will come out. They'll have the pressure, not just the Melbourne media, who've been putting a little bit of pressure on, but imagine the Western Australian media, especially because West Coast won and Fremantle didn't. The pressure will be immense. And because of that reason, I think Fremantle will come out. Jackson is under fire for his huge deal. Young ruckman who came from Melbourne, and he needs to perform. He needs to do something for them. Is it a different role? Whatever it might be. Fife might be coming back in. He got a lot of scrutiny in round 1 for his forward prowess, even though they weren't delivering the ball really well. So Fremantle just need to dig in, get it really hard and tough in there in the midfield and try and win this game. I'm not putting a bet yet, but I'm definitely leaning somewhere towards the Fremantle ML or Fremantle line. I'll look at the teams and make a decision later in the weekend, but I'm nowhere near West Coast here, so it's all for Fremantle for me.
Yeah, there's been a little bit of complacent, attack on Fremantle in the way that they've opened up the start of the season. They've been really complacent in the way that their game plan, and I don't think they've really given the credit to their opposition. North Melbourne, they definitely didn't give the credit to. They stuck with that game plan against the St Kilda, and we saw them really struggle to get the ball moving and struggle to attack. I think they can't afford to start behind the 8 ball in this one, because West Coast is going to be a team that you're not going to be able to get over the top of, especially with that home, use the inverted commas there, the home crowd of the Fremantle faithful there, but the West Coast will pile it on as well. So I think that they're going to have to, the things that they need to do to be better is just win the hard ball. Just get in there and just win a hard ball. They need some sort of big defending midfielder in there who's just going to go in there and just crash bodies and just get the pill out. So I think that they'll do that against Fremantle. I'm leaning towards the 11.5 Pez, and as soon as the teams are confirmed and I have a look at the metrics and see what's happens there, I'm pretty sure I'm going to put a live bet on that one. So It is a strong lean to minus 11.5. There's no way that they go 0-3, and there's no way they even let West Coast get close in this one.
Yeah, so we go from there. There goes the all 9 rounds, and I do have a couple of other bets to place, because if you've noticed, Sauce, I haven't put any of my bonuses on, but I really struggled to put them on this week. So I'll just give you my first one.
Well, hang on a tick. Is that our cheeky?
It's not very cheeky.
Oh, but we're into our cheeky segment, are we?
Well,
this is going to be the first money on the cheeky segment. Oh, we need to put the cheeky button. Get into the cheeky, Pez. Exciting.
This isn't my cheeky one. It's the next one, Sauce. But anyway, my first bonus multi, I've got Geelong to beat the Gold Coast, Brisbane to beat the Bulldogs on Thursday night, and Carlton to beat GWS. Gives me $3.08, and I didn't like anything else really in any game. So a bonus unit on that from my Sunday in round 2. Mm-hmm. And then my second one, which is actually cheeky here, Sauce, but I'm actually placing it as well. So I'm putting down a multi.
Very exciting.
I had to make it cheeky. It's a 6-legger. So a 6-leg multi. I wouldn't usually put my own money on this, but it is a bonus bet.
It is sort of your money.
Kind of. It's already gone. So I'm going to go with Brisbane, Carlton and Geelong. So exactly the same 3 teams there. But I'm adding Collingwood to beat Richmond on the Friday night. I'm adding North Melbourne in to beat Hawthorn.
Bloody hell.
Down in Tasmania. And I'm adding Fremantle, as we just spoke about, to beat West Coast.
We just lost like 10 listeners because you killed and shocked North Melbourne fans all around the world to death because you actually are backing them.
This season, I haven't said a bad word about them.
Yeah, but that's because they're in palliative care for the last 5 years of badgering that you've given them.
I've been backing them. And North, they're with me this year.
They're with you. Not even going to say that they're all right. They're with you.
So 6-leg multi there, Sauce. My bonus unit on that, $10.17.
Bloody hell. That is extremely
Cheeky.
Really cheeky. But I'm glad that the cheeky segment is back and that we're putting some money down on it. I'm not, but but you can.
No, have you got anything that you would put together for a multi? Or a
My multi was very similar to yours, Pez. Brisbane, Geelong, and Fremantle, all on the nose. You can power play that on Sportsbet for $3.25. You can jump over to another bookie and see if they, Tab sometimes release the head-to-head multis out a little bit later, but at the moment they haven't. So $3.25 is pretty good for three teams that I think get the job done.
No, very good. And the main event, the ladder challenge, and all listeners listening to this podcast now would have already seen this. Yeah, go viral on socials, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. We've got a little multi coming up because step one of the ladder challenge Sauce. We're on to step 2, so we've got $20.70 to play with. All of that goes on a bet. What do we got?
Yeah, we do, Pez. It goes on the second run of the ladder. I like that we've definitely worked out the terminology for that. It's not the second round; it's the second run of the ladder. We've gone 2 legs with, as we spoke about, the 2 teams that we think are going to get it done. We've given Geelong, we've given them a little bit of a head start.
Yeah, plus 7.5. So if they lose by a goal or 7 points, we'll be all right. The second one there, Sauce, Carlton to beat GWS, but minus 2.5. So will be pretty stiff if they win by 1 or 2 points, but they've got to win by 3+ points against GWS, who we think is going to happen anyway. And once that happens, $20.70, boost that with Ned's $2.07, returns us $42.84, and gets us to the next step of the ladder on our way to 10K.
Yeah, it's very exciting, Pez. And just a couple more weeks and we'll be sitting around 2 or 3 grand and we'll be loving life.
Yeah, we'll be sweating bullets on the weekend.
You think it took time taking this one? It took about an hour to get these 2 measly legs together to lose $10.
Yeah, and as listeners know, we don't always agree on things, so this has been very, very difficult.
Painful is the word.
to agree on the ladder challenge, because sometimes one of us loves something and the other one's like, no, I'm not touching that game. So it's like, shit, what are we going to find? So this is the best of the best, this collaboration.
It has been interesting, and you know what, Pez, it's something that the fans are going to appreciate, that we are collaborating on this, because it's going to result in 10K in not too distant future. So very exciting for that one. What you can do though, if you missed any of the bets we've had on the show, make sure you jump on our TikTok or our Twitter, our Instagram. All of the videos will be up there. All of our bets will be up there. We've got our spreadsheet online that people can follow along and see how much I'm kicking your ass in the ROI and the units.
Yeah, kick the jump on Twitter and Instagram. Have the links on there. It's a Google Doc. You can just jump on. It changes live, and you can see everything that's up there. And Sauce, you always have a little bit of banter early in the season. Let's see if you're still speaking after round 5.
Well, last year you turned it on in the last round and just beat me.
Don't try and say that. I was flogging. I turned it on the last round to beat you, did I?
You did, actually.
Oh, God. What did I win? 50 units in the last round or something?
Well, you're all over the Cats. It was a smart bet. So, I let you have that one. So it was good for you to come around the winners table. But
we know it was a good season last year.
Speaking of winners table, actually, we haven't mentioned it in the show, all the things. And I noticed your head just dropped then. Loser comp. How are you going in the loser comp? Because, I know the first week we had 16 people lose a life, and there's a few people that went out. Pez, how are you tracking?
Yeah, you can't win your own comp. So
absolutely bombed out.
First 2 weeks. Our entrance there, 10 people already out.
Yeah.
After 2 wrong, bang, bang. You wouldn't think it'd be that difficult, but it absolutely is.
And as everyone says, it's like, it's easy, I'll just pick North. Well, they're all out, aren't they? First 2 weeks, out.
Well, it's so easy that half of our entrants lost their life in the first round. First game, you can pick any team you want to lose. Mm-hmm. Half of the people
just
lost.
Shows you how topsy-turvy that first 2 rounds were, and a couple of the teams who are surprising us, Pez. But
and for the listeners in the loser comp, we hope you're enjoying it. The live little sheet that you can go on and see live up-to-date tips, and keep a track of who you've tipped and who you're going to tip in the future, because you've got to try and eliminate Sauce.
Eliminate Sauce. I'm still there for 1 more week, probably. Hopefully, I reckon I'll be there for maybe 2 more weeks, and
then gone.
They're probably gone. Yeah, it gets harder as you go on there, as you know, Pez. But make sure you jump on our all good social media. It's not social media, so jump on all our podcast providers. Leave our 5 stars and comments. I don't think Spotify you can actually leave 5 stars, so just jump on to Apple Music. And Apple Podcasts, 5 stars, leave comments. It helps other bettors and punters find us, and so they can get some value as well. Or if you've got some of your own bets and you've got, disagree with Pez or myself, or you agree, you can always jump on our socials and let us know how to go there.
We love to hear it. We get a lot of commentary there, and a lot of DMs with the bets. So keep them coming, and we'll have a winning round 3.
I wouldn't mind some of these people on TikTok and Twitter and that, though, to put their balls on the table and actually call us out before the bet. Don't wait until it's finished. It's very finished.
Yeah.
You look at the video and it's like, right, halfway through the game, Brisbane's up by 40 points. No comments at all. Third quarter, no comments after the game. It's like, oh, yeah, well played.
Nearly lost.
Nearly lost. But like, you know what? Call us out earlier. Where were all these people talking about the Geelong game, before we lost our bet?
No one wants to put their balls on the line, Sauce. So
wait. There's 2 people right here.
we're just the ones with our faces out on TikTok getting the banter if we lose, and not much if we win, because no one's respecting that. But we just let our bets do the talking, and we go from there. Enjoy your round 3. I've been Pez. Peace out.
I'm still Sauce. We'll catch up next time, guys.